Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sher Vancouver Podcast. We have an exciting guest here with us today. She is a DJ, producer, born and raised in LA, and has South Indian and Caribbean Colombian roots. She has worked with notable clients such as Nike, Spotify, Adidas, and Samsung. She represents a global dance sound and has been making waves internationally. She is one of the co-founders of No Nazar, which is a creative collective of South Asian DJs in LA. So without further ado, please welcome Bianca Maieli.
Thanks for having me.
Looking good, looking good.
I'm excited to be here. Appreciate you guys having me on the podcast.
Yeah, we're so excited to see you again. We saw you last year.
I know, yay, I'm back.
We're in a more close, intimate setting.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope this becomes like a yearly thing and I can just come every year.
We hope so too.
Yeah.
So Bianca, it's so nice to have you on. For our listeners, Bianca had a wild morning. She flew in, is going to do an episode with us, and then we're all going to party it up tonight at 5X Pride.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
And Bianca, I know off this we were chatting, just Googling your name. Your presence is on the internet, as we know, with your wedding that blew up. But we wanted to know more about yourself. And yeah, we'll get into the whole wedding love story, but let's learn about you. So we wanted to start off with, where did you grow up and when did your love for music start?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in LA. I was born in East LA and have always kind of lived in Los Angeles and the surrounding areas. And my love for music started at a really young age. My grandfather, my mom's dad, played the piano really well. And so he gently forced my cousins and I all be in piano, which I'm so thankful for now. In the moment, I don't think I appreciated it that much, but it started with piano, and then I played a trumpet in my school band. I played saxophone for a little bit. Then when I was a little older, right out of high school, I played bass in a band. So music's always been a huge part of my life, and I always joke that I was making DJ mixes even when I was a kid because I would, I had the cassette tape, and as soon as like a song I liked from the radio came, I would just run to the cassette tape and hit record, and those are my first mixtapes.
Wow.
Nice. I have a lot of memories of those where you had to press the... Kids these days have no idea
what
it took to make a mixtape back in the day.
I'm not going to lie. I'm like,
You're like, that wasn't my generation.
Don't know what you're
saying.
No,
I know. I was describing it to my brothers, and they were like, what?
Yeah.
What does a cassette look like?
Yeah. How does it function? Yeah, we know that time frame, which is not a lot of fun. You have to wait for the break to end, and they're like, boom, they go into the song. You're like, record, and then end the recording before they say something crazy after.
So you played like so many musical instruments. Are you keeping up with any of that now, or is it DJing with the system full time?
No, I haven't kept up with any live instruments. Sadly, I have them. I have a keyboard. I have multiple guitars and a bass at home, and now they're just pretty decorations. I always look at them and I'm like, I need to get back into it, and I just haven't found the space for it yet, but it is something that I still hold near and dear. And even though I'm in more of an electronic space with like music and producing now, nothing beats live instruments and just the feeling playing it and that synergy when you're playing with other people, and that's something that's very unique.
Very true.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's like so awesome how kids nowadays, even now, are, for years and years and years, learning how to play an instrument has probably brought them so much joy, and their parents, right, of course, because they've put them in that class or like made them learn it. But yeah, I think they have different outlook on life as well, to a certain extent. Me saying that, you playing the ukulele in grade 6, that's all I got, guys.
Hey, that's impressive.
Not bad,
Still.
Not bad. I'm tabla.
Oh,
hey,
damn.
okay.
Come
Come through,
start,
tabla.
right?
Let's
All right.
go. I think we have a band.
I think we have a
ukulele, tabla, guitar, bass. We got something going.
We got something going. Next year we'll be all presenting at the 5X.
Yes, 5X Pride live
5X
show.
Fest. Book us.
Book us. We're free. I'm always free.
We're available.
Oh man. Well, let's get into your cultural identities and how that's also like influenced your musical creativity, because you've got some amazing background. You're Caribbean and South Asian. Like, hit us up with how that's influenced your amazing DJing skill set.
Oh, it's had a huge impact. Especially growing up in LA, we have such an array of different cultures, and they've all influenced me in one way or another. And yeah, my dad is from South India. He's from Kerala, and my mom is from San Andres, which is a tiny little island in the Caribbean, which is part of Colombia. And so just the music from both those countries has always had a significant impact and influence in my life. Even now, just any of the sounds and just artists and music's huge inspiration for me. And I love the blending of the two. And, not just, I blend all types of sounds, but definitely like that Latin and South Asian fusion is me. And it's a huge part of what I do in my music.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we both are like huge fans of yours, and
oh, thank you.
we jam out.
We'll insert some tunes. We'll get Anu to like add some beats while we're chatting, because I feel like people should, hear your sounds, and maybe you can talk about like, I know when you go on SoundCloud, it shows like your like most listened to, and like what's your recent mix that you dropped, or like that song. I think it was like Shah Rukh Khan. I can't think of the name, but.
The most recent one I did was actually a edit of a reggaeton artist. She's queer, called Young Miko from Puerto Rico. So that was kind of like my little pride blend I put out there. And then before that, the Satrang Baile was probably the more recent Bollywood edit I did. So that was a Baile Funk edit of Satrangire. One of my favorite edits I've done so far, actually.
So good, so good.
I was gonna say, you have to say that girl's name again, because I was like, damn, that was a tongue twister.
Oh, Young Miko.
From Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico.
Oh.
She's, I mean, as far as queer artists, like, she is one of my favorites, is really just pushing reggaeton in a whole new way. And she's really blowing up. Like, she's mainstream. She's collaborating with, like, huge artists, Karol G, Bad Bunny. Like,
wow.
Oh, yeah, she's up there. So
That's
it's
good.
really, really cool to see someone who's so openly queer in a space that can be very not so friendly to the gay population sometimes. A lot of like the Latin machismo and stuff comes in. I mean, same thing with the South Asian culture.
Right,
it's the same thing. Yeah. So it's really cool to kind of see her really explode on the scene.
Sweet. That's awesome. We'll have to check her out.
Yeah. You're chatting about queerness and being open. Like, can we maybe dive into that? Like, everyone has a story of coming out, but maybe you can chat about like, what was that like for you growing up, and how have you come to terms? Because I know, like, researching more about you, it seems like your study, I don't know, maybe you can correct me. Was it like your master's that you focus on queer women in South Asian communities, or maybe walk us through like that experience for you, your queerness, and where you are at with it now.
Sure. Yeah, that's a loaded question. All right, where do we start? So my journey with queerness has been a journey. It's been waves, ups and downs, and I tend to, in this era of my life, not focus too much on the coming out portion of my journey. It was difficult. There was definitely a lot of hardships, a lot of trauma, and I don't like to dive too deep into it just because I feel like specifically my family has had such a wonderful journey of acceptance since then. So I really don't want to paint a version or, give people an idea of my family that's in a negative light. Like, things did happen back then that was difficult. I was outed by my high school when I was a senior in high school. So, pretty difficult. I went to a Christian private high school, very religious. So there was definitely a lot to it, right? I was outed. It wasn't something that I got to do on my own terms. And so that was its own kind of difficult journey. But I think from there, that journey was necessary. And I think from there, it's really made me who I am. It's really made me feel a lot stronger and more confident in who I am. And I'm in a really great place, and my family's come such a long way, and we're in a really great place. So I definitely want to highlight that, because I think it's important to acknowledge that it wasn't easy and that I didn't have the best coming out experience. I want people to I want to be honest. I want
Yeah,
people to
it's
know
reality.
that. And
Yeah.
it's reality. And it is something that people can connect with. It's not easy, especially for people who come from certain backgrounds like South Asian or Latin or any religious background. It's a difficult process. But I want to also, in my art and everything I do, I want to also present the flip side and present more of the positive and give people hope, because I did have such a, I did struggle with it when I was younger and it was so difficult. But now I can say, yes, it took over a decade and years down the line, but, there's hope. And, my family and I are on really great terms. They love my wife, Saima. And I think I want to present it in a light so that people know that there's hope. People who might be struggling with their coming out or just have already come out and they're still struggling with family dynamics. I just want to give them hope that things do get better, and it's not always a linear process. I'm sure you guys know. There's the initial coming out, and then there's like multiple comings out after that. And sometimes it can feel like one step forward, 3 steps back. But I think I want to just put out there that things do get better, and you will find that community, whether it's your blood family or your chosen family, like you will find that love and acceptance. And you got to find it within yourself first. So
100%.
Yeah. And then there was a second part to your question.
I think can you talk about your studies?
Yes. So I didn't do my master's. I did my undergrad in anthropology. And for my senior thesis, I did write about the experience of queer women forming communities and online forums. So that was something I just kind of stumbled on. We were studying a lot about gender and sexuality and all these different things, and I was trying to figure out what to write about, and just kind of coincidentally, do you guys remember that? You guys know that site After Ellen?
The site After Ellen?
Yeah, it's like a queer women's entertainment. Like it's all about like TV shows and movies. It's just like a blog.
What's it called? Is it Pink? No.
No. It's just like AfterEllen.com, and they just have a bunch of stuff about pop culture.
Okay.
So I'd go there and like read my little L word recaps, and in these forums, that's where I kind of found this whole subset of community of these women that were just struggling with their identity, struggling with their religious background, struggling with their cultural background, and they were all finding this solidarity together and community online. And I kind of felt like it was a mirror to what I was experiencing, not so much in that specific sense, but just even meeting other queer brown people of all different backgrounds through the internet. Like I didn't have any of that growing up. Yeah. So through Tumblr, through like Twitter, through Instagram. That
was like the thing, Tumblr.
Oh yeah, like, Tumblr was my that was where I found my community actually. Yeah. And so seeing this in these forums online, and then I started diving deep into these other forums, and that's kind of where that research kind of came about. That feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Tumblr. Wow. I never got there. I don't even know what it is.
I would go on Tumblr.
That was an era.
Yeah.
That was an era.
Okay.
But thank you for sharing. Like we do say on every episode, like the focus is not coming out, but we want to shine the realities. Like it's such a spectrum. Like there's harsh realities, and then there's people like Jag's family, and like, where the parents are like, it's okay, and they give them a hug in the day. So just to show that it varies. And also like because to us, you are such like a powerful, visible, like you're intentionally visible with your work, and of course through your wedding that you decided to put on YouTube. But for us, like I remember like creating a document of like queer South Asian women, and Bianca, you were literally one of them. And that's how I was finding hope. Like I was literally in Hong Kong in a cafe. I was like Googling. I remember Neri when I came back, shared it with you. Yeah. It was like Lily Singh, Priya Arora, you, like Sufi Anjali, like all like, I think the document ended at like 16 people. And I'm like, where is everyone else? Yeah. And that's sort of like how we're here today.
That's true. Yeah. Sharon had a list, right? When we first met. August 2020, she's like, these are the people that we want to have. Lily Singh, I'm like, girl.
She's like, you're aiming for the stars here. I'm like,
I know, but still, if you're listening, if you're listening, Lily, or anybody have a hookup, holler. But
like we have you today in front of us, which is like wild to think of. Like fast forward 3 years.
Totally.
And like, yeah, for you to share your journey of like, you know, you had to go through that pain, but like you're providing so much hope to folks like us and our listeners. So it's unfortunate we have to go through those hardships, but I think we come out completely different, more resilient person. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
So I don't
shine
want to
bright.
like gloss over that. Like it, like
Yeah.
everything was fine. All, you know, rainbows and butterflies.
yeah.
Like that's not the reality. But I think we see so much of our own trauma reflected back to us in a lot of media and content and stuff, which I do think serves its purpose. But I also want to offer the counter, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
The counter view. I want to show people that it's okay, and like whatever you're struggling with, there's always hope. And man, if people in my life can do like a complete 180 and like get to where they are now, like I think it can really happen to anyone. So
For sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. We had a moment there, didn't we?
We did.
We did. Yeah, I guess we'll step into also just a bit about VIBC back in the day. I know we call it back in the day. It probably wasn't too long ago, but 7, 8 years ago. That is now 5X, right?
Yes.
They've transitioned over to 5X. You did an amazing panel with some amazing other artists, Horsepower, Jasmine Sandless, to name a few. Can you tell us your experience with that? With Toure as well, was there too doing the panel for that? What you were doing before back in the day to 2016?
yeah, 2016 doesn't seem that long ago, but yeah, when you start counting the numbers, you're like, whew.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first experience basically coming to Vancouver as an artist and kind of showcasing that. I've been coming to Vancouver for a while. My grandparents used to live in Abbotsford, so I was definitely familiar with the city and all that. But that was my first experience being able to come and share my artistry and share my music, and to be able to do it with Toure was so dope. So we came together and we were on that panel. Horsepower, K-Ray, Jasmine Sandless. I think that was it. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. But it was an incredible experience. And yeah, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, but it was really, really dope to see Jasmine Sandless before she kind of like really took off, and just see the star power already. Like I already, just from meeting her right away, I was like, oh, she is a star.
Yeah.
So getting to share that experience and sharing the stage with her was truly special, and getting to do it all with Toure was an incredible experience. So
Yeah, well, every single one of those artists that you've named are doing really big things.
Yeah.
oh, absolutely.
You guys all are.
Yeah.
You guys are all
Yeah.
like really hit it big, and like congratulations, and that's awesome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
what did you guys have a
Appreciate that.
discussion about? Do you remember any of that? Like what the discussions were kind of hitting?
All types of thing. We all kind of did our own presentation, had our own kind of like time to talk, and Toure and I, of course, focused more from a queer perspective. It was unfortunately very soon after the Orlando shooting, which was targeted obviously at the LGBT community in the queer club out there. So it was kind of a heavy time, and so we were just bringing that to light and kind of speaking from our experience as well. And then we kind of had an open panel, and everyone just kind of asked questions. And I did a little vlog about it on my YouTube. You guys can check it out.
Okay.
But yeah, that's about as much as I remember.
All good. It was a few moons ago.
Gosh, I know.
What was the feedback like though? Like, you know, for 2016 to think of like queerness being talked about in Surrey or Van, I feel like the conversations was not happening. So well, did anyone come up to you after? What was the feedback like? I'm curious.
Definitely. Yeah, the feedback was great. And it was something very, very new at the
Very
time.
new, yeah.
Super new,
Yeah.
super fresh. We really didn't know what we were walking into. We were just like, hey, we're from LA. What's up, guys?
Yeah.
But the response was incredible. Every time I come here, the community is just so amazing, so friendly. And so to go from that experience in 2016 to our experience last year, actually playing a Pride party through the festival, it was amazing just to see that growth and see where things are headed to now is really exciting.
Yeah, that's like our small little queer community here. Like that for us was like a big night. Sher Van and 5X collaborated. Like so for us that was like a really exciting event. We had like emergent screening before, and then the night started, and we were like, oh my god, we have like real DJs up in here. Like,
There's people here.
I know.
Yeah, totally.
And people were dancing and having a good time, and it was cool to see so many beautiful queer people in the space, and also so many beautiful non-queer people in the space supporting. And like that's really important, I think, like really having the communities like merge and really support each other. And I saw that, and it was really cool to see from 2016 reconnect with a lot of familiar faces and see old friends. But what was also really cool is seeing all these like I made all these friends with these like, I don't want to call them kids, but they were just significantly younger than me. And just getting to see the new generation out here and how awesome they are and how cool and forward thinking and just down to earth and open-minded they are. So it was really exciting to see that.
Yeah, I think we've seen that huge change too. It's like all the youngins are like boom boom pow, and we were just so under the table and like but they're like, yes, let's rip it up, let's do this, let's represent. And I love seeing that, and I think it's just such a great generational change to see. And they're not just like, I don't care, I'm gonna do this, like I'm queer, I'm out,
we're here, we're queer,
we're here, they're saying that. We were just like doing that in the beginning before, right? We're here, we're queer, but they're literally doing that.
No, they're doing it,
which is awesome.
They inspire me. They give me so much hope, because even now I feel like, obviously I'm like out and proud and very visible, but even I find myself being a little bit more reserved in certain instances, and I feel like that's just from my time and my background on all these things, and then seeing how young people just navigate and present themselves in such a different way with so much just confidence, and I love it. It inspires me.
100%.
Yeah, like I teach, and like I got young like grade 7ers being like my pronouns, and like they're very educated, like they know, and I'm like hiding in the back. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like,
bye.
One day. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's get into No Nazar. You're repping it on your t-shirt. Yeah, No Nazar. So I see different languages. So yeah, walk us through what is No Nazar and how that came about.
Absolutely. So No Nazar, obviously, taking the concept of Nazar and kind of the concept of the evil eye and just kind of really just jealousy and like judgment and that kind of energy, and just being the antithesis of that. And we were kind of emerged out of going to a lot of these spaces, wanting to share, South Asian sounds and music and our heritage, our culture, but sometimes walking into these spaces that were, by South Asians, for South Asians, really looking for that community and not finding it, just really feeling judged. I felt judged for being queer. I felt judged for only being half Indian. Like there was all these requirements that I wasn't meeting. Like I don't speak any South Asian languages, and I always felt like I was just not meeting people's standards for what they felt someone who is South Asian should be. And we all kind of experienced similar experiences, and that's kind of where No Nazar came. So No Nazar, no bad vibes. We just wanted to create a space that was super open, super accepting, no judgment, community, respect, fun, all those things. And it started in 2020. So a little backstory. Toure and I had known each other obviously for a while already. We were already doing gigs together. I was DJing, she was playing the dole. We were already kind of working on events and that kind of thing. And her brothers, Jag and Jess, they played dole as well. And they were also interested in kind of starting a party. And simultaneously, we were huge fans of Omar and his edits online. And
so good.
Yeah, Melinda had connected with him. He had just moved to LA. So all these kind of things were happening synergistically. And we kind of got together. Also, Jag and Jess's friend Chris was there. So that was kind of the original group. We all kind of like met one day. And we were like, so we want to do this thing. We want to throw this party where we can kind of incorporate South Asian sounds. But another thing that we weren't seeing in these spaces is the fusion that we kind of like. Like, obviously, we're not the first people to do like Bollywood edits. Like, people have been doing this for a while. Like, great, amazing artists that we look up to. But what we weren't seeing we just saw a lane for us because we love so many of these like global sounds is what it kind of gets grouped into, but just these underground club sounds from all over the world, you know, things like Jersey Club and Baile Funk and reggaeton, dancehall, dembow, and we loved incorporating those sounds with the South Asian kind of sounds, and so we weren't seeing that, and so we're like, we love all this. Let's throw a party, you know. And we had no clue what we were doing, but we're like, let's throw a party. We, you know, got everything together. We made it happen. March 8th, 2020. And the community showed up. You know, we had no clue how to market anything or promote, nothing. And yet the people showed up and they had a great time. It was such a success. Like, the energy in the room was incredible. We all felt it. We were like, you know, we were on a high, like, oh gosh, this is it. We're onto something, you know, like we feel it. And then the pandemic hit.
No Nazar first event. It was that how it was like.
Oh yeah, no, it was No Nazar. Yeah, it was just No Nazar. Like our debut right out the gate, you know, and it was. We were so fortunate that it was such a success. But then literally right after, it was locked down.
Oh my gosh, I was gonna say, I'm like 2020. That's
March 8th, 2020. That was like literally right before the lockdown. So we went from being on such a high to just, you know, having all that taken away, and essentially like we just didn't really know what was happening, what the state of live events was going to be. We kept being like, oh, maybe this will be over in 2 weeks, and what should we play next? And it just kind of progressed, and we were just in the state of not really knowing. Obviously we all were, right? Like around the world. So during that time, it really was Melinda, Omar, and I that kind of kept the brand alive. So we were just doing like live streams and just any random thing we could do, you know, from our homes. But we did some really cool stuff back then, actually. We did a couple live stream fundraisers on our own for some really dope local causes. And then we actually linked with the Daytimers because they were a new and emerging collective out in the UK. So we did a fundraiser for the Punjabi farmers during that time, you know, and that was a really, really dope event because it was like a 24-hour live stream from people all over the world. So that was incredible. So we kind of kept the brand alive and really didn't know what was going to happen. And the summer of 2021, when things were kind of slowly picking up, we're like, okay, let's try this again, you know. So we did a summer series, and we did a 4 events during the summer, day parties, and they were also really great feedback. But it was an interesting time because things were at a flux, you know. Sometimes everyone would just be like, yeah, we out here, we outside, summertime, and then there'd be a huge scare about just another outbreak, and you know, we gotta get back indoors. And so it was an interesting summer for us, but that was really kind of where we got back into it, you know. That summer series was really special, and we were getting some amazing guests even with nothing. We had no budget, we didn't know what we were doing, but that was kind of our introduction back into the live event space. And that's also where we got to meet DJ Sudi. Nice. So that's where he kind of joined the team. And then the next chapter of No Nazar happened at the beginning of last year. We did an event in January, and then we did our 2-year anniversary in March, and that was a huge hit. And we're like, oh, okay, people are vibing with what we're doing. We're onto something. We're doing something right. And then kind of got into a cadence of doing monthly events. And then that's also during the time where we linked up with Aku, who is our graphic designer. He does he designed the shirt. He's an incredible designer and also amazing DJ and producer. So that's where we're at now. It's the 5 of us kind of pushing things forward. And obviously we also have like an extended family of, you know, No Nazar community that helps us out and is amazing. But yeah, it's the 5 of us. We're pushing it forward and learning through the process. I can't say we know exactly what we're doing yet, but you know, we've learned a lot, and we're really just pushing forward. We're all about music and community, and of course bringing in artists from different spaces and different backgrounds. And one thing we always kind of emphasize is cultural exchanges on the dance floor. So being able to bridge community and music and art all together is something that we don't take for granted and is really special to us.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny. Our next question was going to be, how do you guys vibe together, like all your guys' cultural backgrounds and music, and how do you guys fit that together as the whole No Nazar group? Yeah, because you're saying you culturally bring everything together on the dance floor and vibe out. But how did you guys come together in the sense of like vibing that as a, because like Toure is a Punjabi background, and I know she's got great mixes as well, and you do your kind of jam of amazing mixes as well. Aki, you told us a story about how he started, that you guys had never met him ever before.
Yeah. This kid came out of nowhere. You know, he's also happening to be in Southern California, but I forget who initially kind of connected with him to do some artwork. I think it might have been Omar. He was doing some artwork for Omar, and we were just blown away by his artwork. But he was very secretive, you know. He didn't have like any pictures of himself online or anything. And we had no clue what he looked like. We had no idea who this kid was, and he was doing all our artwork. You know, at that point, we just were like going to him for everything because we were so in love with the vision that he had for our brand, you know. And and then eventually he came out to a show, and then it was a wrap. And then you know, realized he was like an incredible producer and DJ, and you know, he did our debut set with us during a day party we had last year, and we were just blown away. And then so I'm a huge fan of everyone on No Nazar. Like, they're my favorite DJs. Yeah. So
you guys all bring your own flavors and your own, like, it's so amazing. I know we use Omar's mix for our YouTube video, which we had. Yeah. Nice. Like the sounds are so incredible. And I think that's what I wanted to ask you, like, because folks have been doing this previous and you look up to DJs before who've been mixing Indian and, you know, mix, but is No Nazar, like, what makes No Nazar unique from the sense that you're able to have monthly events and people show up? Like, what do you think that No Nazar brings that in LA that is just different?
Nobody else is bringing out. Yeah.
I think a few different things. I definitely think the music. I think we're flipping Bollywood and South Asian sounds in a way that hasn't been done before. You know, we were bringing in Amapiano sounds and baila funk, and like I was saying, dembo, like all these different sounds that I wasn't seeing being intertwined that way before. So I think, and the fact that all five of us have such similar taste in music, but also just have such a unique perspective, and so everyone's, like you said, just has their own style and own flavor, but we all have like the same base, I think, for what kind of music we like. So that makes it really easy. So I think music for sure is something that sets us apart. Like, there was that lane for us, and we're seeing that response from people, and it's really cool to see us even inspire other people. Now they're starting to make their own edits in that kind of realm, and it's really cool to kind of see that progression and see kind of like the next generation kind of taking what we're doing and doing their own thing with it. Yeah. And then I think a second part of it is that aspect of community and openness, and kind of like being able to come to a safe space where there's no judgment, and being able to show up as a queer trans person in these spaces that can be predominantly brown. And a lot of times, as we know, those spaces can be very toxic. And so being able to go to these spaces and dance to this music, I think is definitely a pull, I think, for people. Yeah. And I think also a lot of the guests we bring in some really cool, fresh guests that are doing incredible things in the music space. Some really big established guests, some up and coming. Like, we're kind of going across the board. So I think that's also brings people in just to that are music lovers and that really care about culture and how those things intersect. Yeah.
And I love that you make space for everyone, like you just mentioned. You don't have to have such a big name. You could be up and coming, which I think is so powerful. And it shows that, No Nazar does create a safe space. And like online, y'all like reels or your posts look so hype. That's another thing I think that sets y'all apart. Like, you are hype. Like, Toure is like, I love that how she like runs the night. Like, even 5X Pride last year, like, you need the right hype, and I think that's what makes.
She's a great hype woman.
Awesome. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'm like, get on the mic, hype him up.
Yeah. She was on the dance floor ripping it up with everybody. I was like, this is awesome. Like,
she's great at
so
that.
Good. Yeah,
she's great at that. Yeah, I think we're so fortunate, especially in LA, because I mean, we've been cultivating that scene for the longest. You know, we just hit our 3-year mark there, and we're so incredibly fortunate and lucky that our LA community is so open-minded and so just wonderful, and they're what makes those videos lit. Like they're the ones getting down, enjoying themselves. They are bringing that energy. Like, yes, we're bringing the energy, but it's reciprocal. Like it's a two-way street. So to have them bring such a beautiful energy every time, that's what really brings the life to the party. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. So community, we're very lucky.
The group,
Don't worry, we're gonna break it down. We're gonna be lit in Vancouver. Let's go.
Oh, everywhere. Don't get me wrong. I didn't mean I focus on LA, but I think they really laid the groundwork for us.
Yeah. You need the consistency of the folks who support you, especially when you're gonna host these events, and you just hope for the best.
And LA is such a huge that's like the spot to be for music, for film. You know what I mean? Like that's the spot. And if you guys can do it big there, damn, you guys. I mean, you guys are traveling everywhere now, right? So
yeah, and we're so we've had incredible community forming now in New York and now nice. London, and it's beautiful to see. But I think sometimes from the outside, sometimes people have assumed that we are a Bollywood party, right? So they come in wanting like Bollywood tunes, strictly Bollywood tunes, and sometimes the community or the dance floor hasn't been as like open and diverse as we wanted. But I think as we grow in these different cities and they see just how like the base, which is LA, that's the baseline, right? And so seeing that now, we're seeing as we like continue in New York and we're like starting to grow in other cities, we're just seeing more and more people come out, and like we want more queer people to come out. Like that's like one of my main goals is like more queer people on the dance floor, so it's beautiful to start to see that now in other cities. And it's not an overnight thing. Like it does take work to really just like, it takes work to diversify the dance floor. Sure. It's not just something that happens right away, but I think we're putting in the work and we're seeing the results, and it's a beautiful thing to see our communities everywhere just so wonderful, and they all look out for each other, which is really nice to see. So
totally. We wanted to kind of get some insight on your amazing show that you got going on the radio, Mimosas and Samosas. Can you give us some insight on that? I don't know why I went French there.
I'm into it.
I did. Okay, we can do that. I'm going to get fired from doing this. 100%. I mean, I'll stop. Okay. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so Mimosas and Samosas was my little radio baby, still going strong. And it was my first segue into just really experimenting with my sound and really going all over the place with everything I love. So it was basically nothing was off limits for me, and it was really my chance to express that fully. So I can't remember when I did my first episode, but Mimosas and Samosas, I fuse all types of genres that I love: R&B, house, hip hop, of course Bollywood edits, all the Latin stuff I play, like reggaeton, dembow, and it was just my chance to experiment and even get to play some stuff that isn't necessarily for the dance floor, but I was able to incorporate it into these mixes. And I really love mixes that feel like a journey. Yeah. It's not all just one note. And the radio show was kind of my way to explore that. And so now I stream on Half Moon BK. It's a radio station based in Brooklyn. They're an amazing station with all different types of programming. So I've been lucky enough to bring in some really cool guests, such as my last mix was this South Asian duo in Australia called Too Spicy. Incredible mix. I also had Gopi, who is our guest DJ for our LA Pride event this Saturday. So she did a guest mix for me. Nice. And Kim Boklat, also an Australian Desi DJ. So I've been able to bring in like a bunch of different guests there and give them a platform as well. And it's just been my way to just experiment with music.
Brilliant. I remember you were saying that this is like the internet radio, which I had no idea about. Yeah. So like give some, the listeners and even myself some insight onto this, because please tell us more.
Internet radio is a huge, huge thing, especially for music lovers. And it really is a chance, I think, for many other DJs and selectors to just express themselves in a way that really resonates with who they are as a person, because you're not bound so much by the restrictions of actual radio. And like, you know, there's a lot more rules and regulations there. Internet radio is really, you know, for the people, by the people type of thing. It's really just people making mixes in their bedroom most of the time. And like,
is it
some
just for
fire
DJs?
stuff. I mean, anyone can do
anyone
it.
can just go on.
Like you can do a talk show and stuff too,
You
right?
could, sure.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever you want. It's very
Okay.
different. Stations have different formats and different styles, but some of the more well-known kind of internet station for DJs are like Half Moon BK. So you literally just go on the web browser and just type halfmoonbk.com,
Yeah.
and there's stuff streaming live. So you can, they have like schedule and like different shows air at different times, so you can listen to the live playback, and they also archive everything on SoundCloud. But there's also, you know, NTS, and there's, I can't even think of any other ones, but there's a huge array of different kind of internet radio, which is a really cool way to just experience music.
And give that platform for folks, maybe if they don't get live events. Is this a space where they can like share their talent still? Like,
Of course. I
Okay.
mean, to be perfectly transparent, most of them are not paid, so it's
Yeah.
not going to replace
Yeah.
live shows. But I think it's a really cool way to showcase sounds that, like for me personally, that wasn't necessarily for the club. And I think it's a really cool way also for DJs and selectors to really showcase their sound all around the world, because internet radio is something accessible to everyone at any time. You know, you just need internet and you can stream live what these shows are playing. So I think it's a really, really cool kind of counterculture in music. And I think it's a really cool way to get your music heard to a broader audience.
love the name too, Mimosas and Samosas.
Yeah.
That was actually my friend's. My friend had that. He was going to do a party and then he never did. I was like, hey, are you still going to do this party? And he's like, no. And I was like, can I
Take
that name for this radio show I want to do? And he was like, go for it. So
Perfect,
yeah, it kind of took off and it's been kind of fun. Yeah.
Nice. I think talking about, you know, being a DJ, being a powerhouse DJ and your experiences, how many years has it been now?
Oh gosh, DJing has been like a decade,
Okay.
but I didn't start doing it seriously till 2019.
When we think of DJs, we think more like people partying, living their best lives, maybe doing some things to just stay awake during those long nights, you know. So can you maybe talk about two things? What's the most difficult part of being a DJ, and what are some misconceptions of being a DJ when you tell folks like, yeah, I'm a DJ, that you faced?
Yeah, great question. I definitely am a party girl and a bit of a night owl, and I think that helped segue myself into being a DJ, just because I started clubbing at 17 and I fell in love with just the club life, the rave life, like just music, dancing, nightlife, all of it. And so I think for me it was kind of a natural journey there. But I think a misconception is that it's all just a party. And obviously I think we all, any creative, and really anyone, but yeah, a lot of creatives in general in this day and age of social media, like we do have to kind of just like showcase stuff, you know. We have to showcase the most lit moments and like all the wins and all the things, you know, just to like get our music out there and keep that momentum and just like get our music heard and get gigs. You have to, there's this pressure of like posting all the, of course, the best moments. And like I'm really in this journey right now, actually in this specific stage of my life, where I really want to start being a little bit more vulnerable about like maybe not all the wins. Like it's really not easy. Like,
Yeah.
So to answer the other part of your question, that is something I'm trying to be more vocal about, and about the misconceptions, and just really be more vulnerable about all sides of the journey, because we tend to only post the wins. And I get it. I mean, obviously, we don't want to advertise like our failures, or failures is maybe harsh of a word, our learning experiences, right? And I really want to try and make more of an effort to be more vocal about that. So I think one of the main challenges with being a DJ for me personally is inconsistency. I'll have, in the beginning of the year, I was booked and busy. I was feeling good. Even last year during this month for Pride, I was booked and busy. I had so many gigs. And this month I had 2, which was my own party and here, which I'm so blessed and thankful for. But it can be a little worrisome. And right now I don't have any gigs booked for July. So that's a little stressful. I have, 0 gigs in 1 month. So I think that's definitely one challenge, is just preparing for that, when there's a lot. It's just making sure that keeping in mind that in future months there might not be as many gigs, and that's just the nature of it. As far as parties, it's always a challenge just to be consistent and get the community out every single time. Like, we have such a strong, beautiful community that loves to come out, and just having fresh and new ideas. Like, there's so many parties happening all the time. So how do we make sure we're ahead of the curve and always bringing something fresh and exciting? And what's beautiful is that with this beautiful team that we have at No Nazar, everyone's bringing fresh and new, exciting ideas all the time. But yeah, it's difficult. It's always a challenge, and for me that's the main one, though. The inconsistency with like outside gigs can be a little worrisome. And then just taking care of yourself. Like, it is a lot of travel, it is a lot of late nights, and taking care of your body. Especially, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so I gotta work a little harder to kind of offset some of that lack of sleep and late nights and all that. But yeah, just keeping a good routine with yoga and trying to eat right and just trying to keep the body active and moving and all that definitely helps. So
yeah, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you are being vulnerable and saying, like, we do also have to highlight our learning experiences, because I think with social media, is that what they call it? Social media? Social media, a lot of folks are presenting just to, like, the hype, the glam, the fame. Yeah, just being able to also highlight, because social media nowadays is like hyping up everything and like, oh, it's glitz and glam and so forth and whatnot, right? But the reality is, I think a lot of people connect with that when you're being real, especially as an artist that's, in the limelight as well. So kudos to you and the crew to be able to do that and present that, and also be able to share with the world that this is life, this is a reality, where everybody's gonna, life ebbs and flows, right? And it's a roller coaster ride. You just got to hop in and be excited for that dip and that low and that high as well too, right?
Absolutely. I was just talking about that because in this industry, we're putting our heart and soul into this, and so the highs are high but the lows are low because they're so attached to what you're doing, your purpose. Or at least I feel that way, and I think a lot of creatives do. I think it's hard for any creative with the consistency. I think there's a lot of ebbs and flows, and so yeah, and there's no guidebook out there for any of us, so that's why I'm trying to share as much as possible and just like hopefully create a little support system with all of us, and we can do it. Keep going.
Which you are. Yeah. And I think you just sharing that, because for us, we obviously see on Instagram, it would seem like it's good for listeners who are wanting to go into the DJing situation or world to know that, it does come with being booked and not being booked. And even someone who's so experienced, been in the scene, it does take its time. And it's all about like being out there, like you said, to show up for the community as well when it's not your events. It seems like you have to do a lot of like networking, meeting people to get booked and blessed all the time.
Yeah, I think we the mic wasn't recording before, but I do want to touch on that and how it is important for, as people who are throwing events for the community where we want to bring the people together and come through, we have to show up also for other people and other events and other communities, because especially we're seeing, I can only speak mainly from LA, but they're so intertwined, all the different music scenes, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. And so we really want to make sure that we're showing up for other people and supporting other people, and in turn we're going to see those people come and support us.
For sure.
Love it. We're
going to like talk about probably one of the bigger topics that you've been probably dying to talk about. Or not.
She's like, don't ask me.
Well, I think sorry, excuse me. I mean, most of the world has seen this, is your YouTube video of you and your wife's wedding, which was so amazing. Like we spoke about earlier in the episode about how that was like one of the first things Sharon was like, oh my God, have you seen these 2 queer band women?
Yeah,
they're
legit.
wedding? And I was like, Yeah, I saw it like a little while ago. She's like, oh my God, let's watch it. And I was like, okay, cool, watch it again.
Like,
cool,
we
cool.
literally had us watching, like, Friday too.
Yeah,
Be
we
like,
did.
is this real? Like, who is her family? How
Yeah.
is this a thing?
Yeah, it was super awesome. I mean, it's 3 million views.
Kind of wild.
Kind of wild.
Yeah.
And you guys are like all over looking up articles. Boom, there's like, bring. You couldn't even stop how many articles you guys have on it, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was intense. In the moment, we never set out to go viral. That was never really our intention. We're pretty low key, and we like to share parts about our life, but we're actually pretty private.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an interesting experience, but we were so happy with the way the wedding came out. We had the best time. So shout out to my wife Saima.
Hey.
And we just, everything was so DIY. It was in my dad's backyard. We had like her cousins, my cousins the night before, just putting together flower arrangements, and it really felt like our village came together to help us make that happen. And so we just wanted to have a good time, and we had a great time. Like, we had the most fun ever. And everyone that came had the most fun ever. They still tell us to this day.
Like it,
yeah, and even all our friends we've met after are like, "Can you guys get married again?" You know, we missed out. And so we had the best time. But it was interesting because even before the video came out, I had shared some pictures on Instagram, and I realized Instagram is a public platform. My profile is not private. I uploaded those pictures for the world to see, but I did not expect
that much of the world.
The response, yeah, and so. It was definitely overwhelming. I think at first it was a lot, the response, and we did get an outpouring of wonderful, beautiful messages from people, which I'm really grateful for, from all over the world. And then we got an influx, of course, of negative comments. And, I usually am not affected by online comments, but when it was at such a mass level, and it was on something that I felt was such an intimate part of my life, that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
That was difficult, and especially having other people now chiming in on my marriage and my wedding. And it was interesting because it gained a lot of traction, especially like in India and Pakistan. And in India especially, we were on the news in India. Like they were they had a whole segment where they call in a bunch of people and they were discussing our wedding.
Wow.
And even all the headlines, like, it just felt very like propaganda. Like, it was just like Pakistan's Muslim Saima with Bianca Christian, like Indian, and it just felt so like all these buzzwords, and I felt like they were using our wedding to fuel these like political views.
Right.
And not all of them were negative. Like, a lot of them were actually really positive, but it just felt, it was odd. It was an odd experience to see how viral our wedding, and see people literally have a news segment and commenting on it, and people for it, people against it, and we're like, this is just our wedding, And so at first it was difficult, and I think we kind of like, we could have leaned into it, and I think on like a more influencer route with it, and really like leaned into it, but we actually kind of pulled back a little bit. It was just a little overwhelming, and we kind of wanted to keep some of that a little sacred, some of our wedding and our relationship. But now in the aftermath, now we're 4 years later, and I think we have a different perspective. I'll speak for myself. Like, I think now that the kind of initial viral energy is kind of dissipated a little bit, it's really cool to look back and see just how many lives we touched and how many people were like positively affected by seeing that. And so I think my perspective has changed, and I see more the positive side of it now. And we get stopped on the street everywhere. Like, we were just in Salt Lake City, Utah, in which somebody like stopped us, and we've been stopped in Mexico. We even had people in Japan. Like, we went to Japan as our part of our honeymoon, and we had people approach us there. So that just shows just how worldwide our wedding video went, and how many lives were influenced in a positive way. So my perspective has changed a little bit. It was definitely overwhelming and a lot in the beginning,
For sure.
But I think now I can appreciate the positive sides of it.
Yeah.
Once again, I feel like we wish we were there.
So your friends that are asking you to do it again, yes.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna come.
Yeah.
We don't. If anyone wants to, we don't have the budget for another wedding. But if anyone wants to sponsor one, we wouldn't be opposed.
Okay,
We wouldn't be mad at all. Just putting that out there.
Listeners, are you hearing? Are you hearing?
Bianca Saima wedding part 2. Whoever wants to contribute to that.
Bam. Right there.
I just wanted to touch on, like, you went viral. Was that overnight? Because I know there's like another queer women couple, like I think it's Anjali and Sufi.
Yeah, I know them.
Yeah, and like I think they took that route of more the influencer route, but I think it like their story was like we went viral overnight, like all this the same happened with them, like articles, Indo-Pakistani Muslim, like
right.
Yeah, so was it overnight for you? And
it felt overnight.
Yeah. Okay. So like you woke up, you uploaded at night, woke up, boom.
I don't even remember. I didn't upload it. It was our videographer uploaded it. We didn't upload it.
Yeah.
Or the first thing that happened is I had posted pictures and that went viral.
Okay.
And then our videographer uploaded on YouTube and then that obviously went viral again. So it felt overnight to me, but I wouldn't even be able to tell you exactly.
Yeah.
It's all a blur. It honestly is.
Which is fair, yeah.
But yeah, I think we're finding that balance of like sharing parts of ourselves with the world while also keeping, our private kind of more sacred part of the relationship to ourselves.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Can you share that love story now? We talked about your wedding, but how did you and your partner meet?
Yeah,
Saima.
So we met in 2014, and this was actually. I mean, I had been kind of connecting with more brown queer people online. This is kind of a little bit after that deep Tumblr phase I had. But still, I didn't really know that many people like in my near vicinity that I had met. I had all these like brown queer internet friends that I had made. And so Saima had another friend also named Saima who was more active online. She was kind of more known in the community, and she was LA based, and she DM'd me and was like, hey, we're going to this spoken word poetry thing called Coming Out Muslim. Do you want to come? Wow. And I was like, yes, I have no brown queer friends. Great. And I didn't know anyone personally. I had never met any of them, but I knew a couple of the other friends that were just from online that were going. So I'm like, great. So yeah, show up, didn't know anyone. I'm like, hey. And Saima had brought her friend Saima. And not to sound cheesy, but just, right away there was definitely a vibe there. And we hung out. We all really hit it off. The group of girls was amazing. Like, we had such a lovely time at the event and hung out after. And then, all started a group chat. And my friend was DJing the next night, so I hit everyone on the group chat to come out, but I was like secretly hoping Saima would come out. And she did, she came out and hung out the next day. And then I think a week after that, we went on our first date in Long Beach.
Oh,
and
nice.
It was the most fun I ever had on a date. And it was so simple. Like, I don't want to make it sound like it was like extravagant or anything. Like, we walked our dog, but her dog at the moment, we walked her dog. We just walked by the beach, then we rode our bikes and to a wine bar and had like a cute little day. It was very like simple, but just I had the most fun. And so been hanging out ever since that time. So we took things super slow. We were just friends for like an entire year pretty much, and then we're like, okay,
which is a long time,
let's just be together.
2 women.
I know, we did the opposite of you hauling. We were like, we're not trying to get involved. And then a year later we went to Bali together and we're like, okay, I guess maybe we should just be together. And now I'm married 4 years. So
amazing.
Yay.
It's so funny, actually. I was looking online some articles, and they had so many like conflicting stories of how you guys met. One was saying that you met on a dating app, and I was like, we gotta ask this. I gotta ask this. So that's clearly not true.
Oh no, neither of us have ever been on dating apps.
Yeah, so I was dying to ask you. I was like, I want to know how they met, because I'm like, this sounds like a lie.
Yes.
And it is a lie. So
I'm better with in-person meeting. I'm so shy when it comes to I tried to sign up for a dating app and I like got cold feet and I just like never even signed up once. I was just like, I can't. Yeah. And Saima was so not online. Like, I couldn't even stalk her when I met her. I was like, hello. She had no Instagram, no Facebook, nothing. She was like off the face of it. Oh yeah, she had nothing. And so neither of us had dating apps at all. It was it was through friends. Yeah, it was a really cool,
That's
just
nice.
in-person
Sounds
vibe
so
and meeting.
nice, genuine,
Yeah.
real, raw. Now it's like if you're not online, that's like a big red flag. You're like, what the hell is wrong with this
Can't
person?
find anything about you.
Yeah,
You
can't
must
find
be-
anything on Sharon. She's not online.
I feel like that's a green flag. I'm like,
I
oh,
think
not
so
online?
too.
Great.
I know, me too, me too.
But I'm like, I wish I could be not online. But
You
yeah,
live that
it was
life
nice.
of a DJ.
Yeah,
though. You
there's-
live that
there's no
DJ life.
escaping it, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. It's so nice to hear like the story behind the big viral
Yeah.
wedding
And
video.
not knocking dating apps, because I know a lot of my friends have met
100%.
that way, but I was
Yeah.
always so shy. So it was nice that we got to like have that initial meeting just in person. So
Totally. Well, that's pretty much a wrap for the episode. I
Okay.
know.
Gosh.
Shedding tears.
So fun.
Thank you for having me. Seriously.
Oh my God, we're so happy to have you here and be able to like chit chat it up and get real nitty gritty. But for the listeners out there, what are your handles? How can they connect with you? How can they check you out, stalk you? Kidding, jokes, jokes.
Yes, please stalk me at Bianca Maieli. Maieli is spelled Maieli. A lot of people have trouble with that one. I have the most Italian name for like not being Italian at all. But that's my real name, first and middle name. And that's pretty much my handle on most socials. I think on Twitter it's at DJ Bianca Maieli. But yeah, check me out. I'm on SoundCloud. I'm on Bandcamp. I'm on everything. So
Look her up, yo.
yeah,
There
look
we
me
go.
up, listen to my stuff, come out to a show if you can. And I'm looking forward to seeing people tonight here in Vancouver.
Yeah,
5X Pride.
5X Pride.
5X Pride, let's go.
Sweet. So we can all say bye on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Bye.
Bye.